Powered by the Montana Television Network. This is the 10 o'clock news on Q2, Montana's news leader.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Jeanelle Slade.
And I'm Russ Riesinger. New developments in the case of a Hardin teen found dead yesterday after missing for nearly 3 weeks.
As dozens of people gathered tonight for a candlelight vigil on top of the rims in Billings to remember 16-year-old Selena Not Afraid, the Bighorn County attorney is pledging a review of all the evidence in the teenager's death.
Well, tonight, Bighorn County Attorney Jay Harris vowing to bring anyone accountable in the disappearance of Selena Not Afraid to justice.
This despite initial information from local authorities that they found no foul play in Selena's death. In a press release sent out just after 6 o'clock tonight, Harris calls this case a missing person search and a criminal investigation. Harris says he is now seeking immediate production of all evidence associated with the search and investigation from Bighorn County and federal authorities.
Now, the release goes on to say that no characterizations of evidence or promises of immunity by the Bighorn County Sheriff's Office are binding upon the state of Montana in a criminal prosecution. Harris also states that the Bighorn County Sheriff has been advised not to make further public comment regarding this matter.
Now, an autopsy is slated for tomorrow here in Billings, which should reveal the cause of Selena's death, but there are still a lot of other unanswered questions in this case as well.
Like, how did search and rescue crews miss her body, and will anyone be held accountable for her death? Q2's Andrea Lutz was in Bighorn County to try and find some answers today.
A glimpse of how vast this area of Bighorn County really is better understood from the air. There are hills and ravines, even a creek bed. Bighorn County Undersheriff Eric Winburn says 16-year-old Selena Not Afraid's body was located out in the open, a mile and a half from the rest stop.
There was sagebrush in the area, and she was kind of laying in the middle of the sagebrush.
She was found wearing boots, blue jeans, and a gray sweatshirt. But so many questions surrounding her death remain, such as how could search crews look for 20 days and miss her?
We thought she would be much closer to the rest area. And then we started searching towards Hardin and then down Fly Creek. And all the evidence pointed at the rest area.
Still, we wanted to know, without an autopsy complete, how could investigators rule out foul play so quickly?
There's no tire tracks or footprints to show that, somebody had taken her out there and left her.
And what about the group she was last seen with at the rest stop? Why did they just let her walk away?
They were interviewed several times, many times. And part of that is, I think everyone in the vehicle was intoxicated. So you don't know how much of the full story you don't get, and how much they remember and how much they don't remember.
Well, Selena was a minor allegedly drinking with a group of people, so the undersheriff told us it is possible that endangerment charges could be filed, but those would likely come from Yellowstone County, where the girl attended a party.
Now, however, again, the Bighorn County attorney telling us again tonight there will be an independent review of all of the evidence.
Well, in the wake of Selena Not Afraid's death, community members from Billings and Bighorn County turned out for a candlelight vigil tonight.
People gathered above the Billings city rims on the city lights on the top of the rims to honor Not Afraid's memory. Q2's Mitch Laggy was there and joins us now with more. Mitch.
Well, Russ and Jeanelle, more than 50 people turned out to Billings Swords Park tonight to light a candle and honor Not Afraid's memory. A few in the crowd said prayers, acknowledging the power of community when they all stand together as one. People carried signs plastered with Not Afraid's picture. Other signs had messages demanding justice in her death. One thing was clear tonight: Not Afraid left a big mark on the community, and some still have questions about the investigation into her death.
There's no way that she went missing that close to where she was found, and she's found 20 days later. There were so many people looking for her, family, friends, day and night.
They didn't give up. They didn't give up, and how she just automatically appeared is just...
And the red hand you saw painted over each of their faces is a symbol for the Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women movement. It's a grassroots effort to make sure that missing Native American people do not go uninvestigated. Russ and Jeanelle.
All right, thank you, Mitch. Well, as the pieces start to unfold, the community in Hardin is trying to heal.
Selena Not Afraid was a junior at Hardin High School. News that she had been found dead hit many of her friends and fellow students hard. Superintendent Chad Johnson says they are using counselors from other schools and help from Indian Health Services, the Crow Tribe, and even therapy dogs from as far away as Bozeman.
Along with helping heal, Johnson also hopes this sad case creates more awareness.
People say that doesn't happen here or it can't happen to us, and it does happen, and it's becoming a greater problem throughout the nation and honestly quite Montana. Nobody is immune. Awareness is really what we're going to focus on and what we need to do to try to make sure that the students are going to be equipped with the tools and the mechanisms to make good decisions on keeping themselves safe.
Now, Johnson says support will be offered to students this week and for as long as they need it.
Well, a Billings man has been arrested in connection to a fatal crash from last summer that claimed the life of a motorcyclist. 19-year-old Andrew Sherrod was arrested on Sunday and is booked in the Yellowstone County Jail on one count of vehicular homicide while under the influence. He made his initial appearance in Yellowstone County Justice Court this afternoon. Sherrod was the driver of a white pickup truck, allegedly, that collided with a motorcycle on the evening of August 28th in downtown Billings. 43-year-old Joshua Jeffers died at the scene.
Well, jury selection is now underway in Glendive for the man accused of running over and killing a 27-year-old Absaroka man almost 7 years ago. Michael Holtz is charged with negligent homicide in the death of Forrest Dana in July of 2013 during the annual Absaroka Days celebration. Holtz allegedly ran over Dana in an alley in downtown, then left the scene. The case has a long history after initial charges were filed, then dropped, then refiled again. The case was moved from Columbus to Glendive after the defense successfully argued that Holtz could not get a fair trial in Stillwater County.
And now turning to Chief Forecaster Bob McGuire, the topic of snowpack always big this time of year, and right now much of Montana seems to be batting 500.
We're doing pretty good up there. Now in downtown Billings, just not so much. We'll take a look at this. It just kind of looks like a typical night out there. But take a look at the mountains. Here's our snowpack survey, and you'll notice all the areas highlighted in green, where most of those areas are really right around 100% of average for as far as water equivalency of the snowpack. And the areas that are highlighted in blue, take a look at that. Those guys are way above average. Here in the Billings area, the upper Yellowstone Valley, we're 103% of average. A little farther to the north is 116% of average. Up there towards the High Line, probably 126% of average at the St. Mary's Milk area. So yeah, that's the Milk River. So a lot of water still flowing in the rivers and still a lot of snow up there. We're looking really good when it comes to snowpack, especially when it comes to average. We'll have more in your forecast in a few minutes.
All right. Thanks so much, Bob.
Well, tomorrow the U.S. Supreme Court will hear one of the most watched cases of its current term, one that originated here in Montana.
It started with a small state tax credit and has morphed into a national battle over the constitutionality of public aid to religious schools.
MTN's chief political reporter Mike Dennison has our coverage.
Espinoza versus the state of Montana had its beginnings 5 years ago with the passage of a $150 state income tax credit for donations that ultimately funded scholarships for students at private schools. But the Montana Revenue Department said the tax credit funded scholarships could not go to students at religious schools because Montana's Constitution forbids any state support of any church. Kendra Espinoza and 2 other parents whose children attend Stillwater Christian School in Kalispell sued. They're represented by the Institute for Justice, a national organization that defends public aid to private schools.
When I was denied the scholarship for my girls, I felt it was very discriminatory, very unfair, simply because they went to a religious school.
The Montana Supreme Court ruled against the parents and threw out the entire tax credit, saying it violated the state's constitutional ban on government aid to churches. The Institute and Espinoza appealed that ruling to the U.S. Supreme Court and are asking it to strike down that portion of Montana's Constitution. As they argue in their brief filed with the nation's highest court, this court should reverse the Montana Supreme Court's judgment and hold that government cannot bar the choice of religious schools in student aid programs, whether through a bigoted constitutional provision or otherwise. This holding would allow Montana's scholarship program to continue and also remove a major barrier to educational opportunity for children nationwide. The case has drawn national attention. More than 30 groups supporting religious schools have filed briefs for Espinoza. Montana's 2 Republican members of Congress, U.S. Representative Greg Gianforte and U.S. Senator Steve Daines, also filed a brief opposing their own state in support of allowing aid to religious schools. But more than a dozen groups, including some congregational churches from Montana and Wyoming and the Montana Association of Rabbis, are siding with the state. They say the ban actually protects religious freedom, and that's what the state argues too.
We think the First Amendment has, for the entire history of our country, rejected this idea that public funds can be coerced and sent into particular religions' education.
Graybill also says breaking down that wall in Montana's Constitution could harm public school funding.
And if that protection for public schools is gone, which is what the petitioners are asking the Supreme Court to do in this case, there are very few roadblocks left that prevent a future legislature from taking that public school funding formula and allocating it directly to private schools.
But State Representative Bill Mercer, a Billings lawyer who co-represented Espinoza in state court, says he thinks that fear is overblown.
Could the tax credit be increased? A future legislature could do that. That is true, but we all know that in the state of Montana, public institutions delivering K-12 education are central, important.
The U.S. Justice Department under the Trump administration has also weighed in on this case for the parents in Kalispell and against the state of Montana and its Constitution. Reporting from Helena, Mike Dennison, MTN News.
And the Supreme Court will rule on the case later this year.
Well, a popular Billings grocery store in the West Park Promenade will soon shut its doors.
A Lucky's Market employee confirms with Q2 that store will close on February 12th. The business opened in Billings in 2014. The Boulder, Colorado-based grocer will close 32 of its 39 stores across the country, according to the grocery business magazine Progressive Grocer. Now, this news comes after the Kroger company divested its interest in Lucky's Market in 2019.
Q2 Facebook comments on this story show the store will be missed. People say they enjoy the salad bar and the different selection of products. One customer writing, "Where am I going to shop now?" And the Lucky's Market in Missoula is among the 32 expected to close.
Still to come on tonight's 10 o'clock news, all eyes in Washington, D.C. today. President Trump's impeachment trial gets underway.
And in sports tonight, Scott introduces this gentle giant as Q2's Athlete of the Week. He beat bullying, but had to leave Africa to do it.
You're watching MTN News with Jeanelle Slade and Russ Riesinger. Storm Tracker weather with Bob McGuire. And sports with Scott Breen. This is the 10 o'clock news on Q2, Montana's news leader.